Okay, so this is kind of hitting the car with a pre-wash before actually doing anything wheel-specific cleaners or sponging or microfibrating the car, basically. So this is kind of the process that I've developed personally. So this is kind of how I like to do things. So I'll foam can the car first, which is basically a pre-wash. I kind of do it before the wheels because I figure it helps knock some of the stuff off the wheels as well. And along with actually doing your wheels right after, basically. So I might burn a little more product because maybe I have to go over a little more things around the wheel wells, as things are going to get kicked up from cleaning the wheels. But kind of however you feel like you want to do things, basically. The pre-wash is really good if you have access to a foam cannon, because it'll kind of pull off a lot off the car without having to actually need to touch the car, which is ideal for trying to not create scratches, basically. So you can see I'll just let it sit for a little bit. I'll jump over here. And you can see I let the car sit for a bit. You can see the foam really started walking off the car based off gravity. So that little bit of movement really helps because it's going to basically absorb and kind of encapsulate a lot of that dirt and kind of start walking it down the car, basically. So really the point of coming out after and just rinsing it off with the pressure washer or with a fan setting is you're really not trying to like pressure wash the car. You're really just using that to move the soap off the car, basically. It's that foam movement, that slow movement down with gravity. That's what really helps pick up a lot of initial dirt, move it kind of off the vehicle. You're not really trying to use the pressure washer to like blast off dirt. You're just trying to have it just move the soap off, basically. So I actually did this twice. That's just been the usual routine that I've been doing since the car isn't coated. And I figured at least that seems to help a little bit for me. It reduces a little bit of work on the sponging. So after it's coated, that might help a little bit. But pretty straightforward. Just foam the car, kind of blast off all the soap. Do that again, basically. This isn't getting everything off the car. I'll do a follow-up in a few minutes after walking you guys through wheels of how the car is actually still pretty dirty if you really look at it closely. But this helps knock off a lot of initial sort of first layer of dirt and grime kind of on the vehicle. So definitely if you have access to a foam cannon, this is really nice to do, because otherwise you're going to be just being more careful with your sponge, basically, and trying to make sure you're not kind of abrading the surface with any of that dirt. So foam's really useful for that. Good. What's up? So let's give the car a pre-wash. Going to kind of overview what I do for brake dust and how I deal with that. I already washed the car, and you can still kind of see, if I rub my finger across this, still a decent amount of dust kind of built up on there. So that didn't come off with the wash, which isn't surprising. So the way I deal with that is I got P&S Brake Buster, diluted 1 to 7 in here, basically. So we're going to take this. Kind of pump until you hear that release valve kind of engage, and click over, take your safety off, keep the safety on, is nice for pumping it up, and we're just going to hit the wheel, really. So obviously I've got brake buster here, the wheel woolly, a rinse bucket for that. Look at the pressure washer ready. So I'm going to go in and foam this thing. Ideally, I didn't really want to get it on the paint, but like it's kind of just an iron remover. I don't see any real issue with that. So let that sit for about 60 seconds, then we'll go and agitate onto it. So kind of one thing to note is obviously during this process, the brake rollers are going to rust. They're going to have surface rust on them, which is obviously going to happen. All I do is I just take it for a spin, it just breaks off all the rust. It's fine. This is naturally going to happen, especially if they get very wet. So give it about like 60 seconds for it to kind of work and interact with everything, and then we'll go agitate all of it off. So just gonna let that do its thing. The foam is nice because, I mean, you can kind of see it's kind of sitting there for a little bit. I could have done some better coverage, to be honest, but that's agitate anyways. But you kind of see it's sitting there and it's pulling down a little bit kind of naturally, so just gonna let it do its thing and get actually a different one. wheel woolly for caliper and all that. I'm just gonna do this quick. This isn't gonna really be super intensive, but just kind of an overview of what this looks like. So really helps with the caliper, really. So after that, I'll give these a soak inside rinse bucket for the next wheel, since you don't really want to stay too dirty between runs, ideally. And just treat this like a fiber rag, really. It really wants to fall on the ground. Let that just kind of chill down there. I'm going to rinse this off. That's and that pretty much neutralizes most of it. There's still a little bit on there. You can run your finger across it and hit it again. I'm pretty happy with that. If you compare this versus that, you can kind of see like that's a lot shinier. So obviously, to break this is kind of off of that. So hopefully that was useful if anyone's struggling with figuring out how to deal with that. Obviously, again, like the road is kind of rusty just from washing, so just drive it around. Work that off, basically, is really all you need to do. Just brake a little bit gently. Okay, just took the car for a spin right afterwards, so you can see the rotor's cleaned up nicely. Obviously, just driving the car is going to scrub off all that surface rust. Obviously, that when you wash the car, that just simulates driving in the rain for a long time with all the rust that's going to suddenly appear. But just drive it. I mean, it's fine. Don't worry about that. That's just naturally what's going to happen when the rotors are in a wet environment. So I'm still going to go and contact wash. I'm going to rinseless wash the car because, as you can see, even though I hit it actually twice with a pre-wash, that foam, the little streaks over here, that's not from the rain over here. That's dirt. Like little streaks coming across here, that's actually dirt. So that's not all going to come off. And the reason why it's not beating up as well, there might be some dirt over here as well. That actually might be, oh yeah, I think that's the iron contamination, basically. The reason why it looks like that, why it's really sticking to the bottom of the car, that's all iron contamination, I believe, is possibly a cause of that. So, probably not going to iron X the car today, but I'm going to need to do that because that's probably why that's happening. So, I'm assuming. So, anyhow, gonna go and rinseless wash the car basically to get rid of most of the dirt. When the car is ceramic coated, that should largely eliminate most of the issues. With this, all that's remaining after the pre-wash, most of it should come off. That's not really an issue. That's just, I mean, it'll get easier because a lot of this probably won't show up. It'll probably just fall right off the ceramic coat. So looking forward to that, but until that happens, we're gonna have to do a little bit more work afterwards just to clean all that up. You can see as it's drying as well. The little stuff over here, that's actually really good. That's still dirt. Like, that foam is not gonna, like, really hates me. That foam is not going to take off everything. The car's still dirty, but it just takes off a lot of it at once. And you saw, like, probably the wheels already cleaned up nice even with the foam. honestly. So that's a good layer 1 sort of clean. But after that, if you're hand detailing the car, you're still going to need to go and knock off a lot of other stuff. Also, something that's interesting is obviously a lot of new Elantras have like a panel gap, and a lot of people have been concerned about that. If you look, I pressure washed the car with that fan attachment, and engine bay is spotless. There's nothing, there's no water ingress in here. Even though it looks like there's a massive panel gap, it's totally fine. I was literally blasting away at this from the, from the windshield side, from the side, from the front a little bit. I was coming at it mainly from the top. I wasn't really, not usually directly blasting into the bay, not trying to go up and in above the actual hood, but you can see that it's clean. There's no water ingress anywhere in here. So definitely don't be concerned about that. I'm pretty happy to actually notice that.